For today's episode, the main focus is drawing and constructing believable heads for fantasy characters. Drawing faces can feel complicated at first, especially when you're still learning proportions and structure. So I want to break things down into simpler shapes and techniques that make the process easier to understand. I'm Will, and this is Ravenquill Studios. Let's get into it. One thing that helps a lot is starting with broad forms before worrying about detail. I begin with a softer square-like shape and widen the sides slightly to establish the cheekbones. This creates a visual foundation for the rest of the face and helps give the head more structure right away. From there, I start laying in guidelines across the face to roughly place the eyebrows, eyes, and nose. These guidelines don't need to be perfect. They're really just there to help keep the proportions balanced as the drawing develops. Once the eyes are in place, I lightly draw directional lines downward toward the jawline to help determine the width and placement of the mouth. Small alignment guides like this make the face feel more believable. At this stage, I'm still thinking mostly in terms of simple shapes rather than details. The nose, cheekbones, and jaw are all being built up gradually using basic forms and directional lines before refining anything further. And honestly, taking your time here matters a lot. Don't be afraid to erase, adjust shapes, or redraw areas multiple times. Strong drawings usually come from refining the structure underneath before moving into detail. Once the foundation feels solid, it becomes much easier to start adding smaller facial details and eventually shading to give the forms more depth and dimension. I'll go much deeper into shading techniques in a later episode. But even simple values at this stage can help reveal the larger forms of the face. As the character develops further, I start adding details like the hair, the clothing, while thinking about the personality and environment surrounding the character. I envision her hair flowing in the forest when, as she's looking into the tree canopies cautiously, holding a hunter's arrow that is not her own. From there, I begin blocking in larger shadow shapes and using the shading to help reinforce the structure and mood of the piece. Once the traditional drawing reaches a good stopping point, I scan the sketch into Photoshop so I can begin the rendering process digitally. The first step is separating the line work from the paper so it's its own layer in Photoshop. To do that, I push the dark pencil lines darker and the paper lighter using adjustments like levels or curves. Increasing that contrast makes it easier to isolate the sketch lines from the paper texture underneath. After that, I use the channels panel to help separate the darker graphite values into their own workable layer, which allows color and rendering to be painted underneath without damaging the original sketch. Vaelis Thorne was born within the drow city of Menzoberranzan, deep beneath the surface of Faerun, a place where fear and ambition ruled more strongly than mercy. Like many born into the Underdark, survival depended on obedience, silence, and usefulness to one's house. From an early age, Vaelis was trained as a scout and tracker, often sent beyond the city's outer tunnels to hunt escaped prisoners, rival spies, and creatures wandering too close to Drow territory. Precision mattered more than strength. Failure was rarely forgiven. During a raid along the surface near the forests surrounding the Sword Coast, Vaelis was ordered to execute a wounded traveler captured during an ambush. But instead of carrying out the order, Vaelis allowed the traveler to escape into the woods. Mercy within the Drow society was seen as weakness, and weakness was dangerous. The punishment came quickly. Feared by most settlements and distrusted by nearly everyone, Vaelis survived alone for years along the wild borders of Faerun, taking work as a tracker, scout, and bounty hunter through dangerous forests and forgotten ruins. Over time, the surface changed her. Not entirely, the cold discipline of the Underdark still remained, but exile slowly replaced blind loyalty with independence. Now Vaelis moves quietly between isolated roads, abandoned watchtowers, and deep forests surrounding the Sword Coast, surviving through precision, patience, and silence. Most travelers speak of poisoned arrows striking from the trees before disappearing into the fog. Others tell stories of a cloaked figure watching silently from the forest canopy before vanishing back into the shadows. And beneath the surface of Faerun, among the drow houses of Menzoberranzan, a name Vaelis Thorne still survives as a warning, not because she failed, but because she escaped. Now I did create a stat block for Vaelis, and you can find it in the freebies page at ravenquill.net, along with others that I have made. Hey guys, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something and got inspired. Which version do you prefer? The drawing or the digital rendering? Cast your vote down below and I'll see you in the next one.